everybody, welcome back to Jimmy's Promo. Today we're going to talk about the 10 settings to change once you get yourself the Samsung Galaxy Fold. Now before we head over inside of these 10 settings to change, if you are brand new here at the channel of Jimmy's Promo and you own a Samsung Galaxy device, don't forget to hit on that subscribe button as well as the bell for notifications to get notified for future videos. And don't forget about that playlist tab on the very top to check out all the videos I've made so far for the Samsung Galaxy Fold and also for the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 and the Note 10 Plus. Now, if you're one of the few folks who is going off to purchase the Samsung Galaxy Fold, you might be wondering, what should I change? What do I need to change just to have a better experience? Now, these are my top 10 settings to change, and literally the first 10 things I did do once I got the Galaxy Fold, and I wrote them down. So the first one is talking about the navigation bar. So you can see that I have my recents, home, and back all on one side of the phone, and it's on the right hand side, so it's super simple for me to use. Like if I am holding onto the phone and I need to hit any of these buttons, it makes it super simple. If you have it spread across the center and across both screens, you almost always have to have two hands working at the same time. So there's two different ways you can go inside of there. One of the quick ways is going inside of your little quick panels on the top and then pressing and holding on the navigation bar. It takes you directly to the navigation bar settings. Now you are also able to use the full screen gestures if you'd like, if you're to swipe up for the recents, home, and back, but I use the navigation buttons just because they are a little bit quicker. Now you're also able to change the order of how they are showing. So usually if you're maybe going to use it on the left hand side for a position, maybe you're left-handed or maybe you're used to some of the LGs or Pixels or something like that, you'd be able to move these in a backwards order, and that's just backwards to myself personally. Then this is the important portion of this where you're able to put it as center, which you can see how this could be an issue if you're holding the phone with one hand trying to get to that recents button. Or let's say that you are left-handed, you want it to be on this side, you want it to be back, home, and recents, unless if you want it to be the back, home, recents. So really, you're able to change the order of how this will look and also the placement if you want it to be right or left-handed. Now for me, I am right-handed, the back button just makes more sense to put it here. So this was actually the first setting that I changed right out of the box. Setting change number 2 is dealing with your keyboard, either the look of it or also the size. When it comes down to a phone that is so close to being able to be used with a one hand for some of the applications, but mostly two-handed for almost all the rest of them, you want to make sure that the size of your keyboard is something that will make it easy for you to type. You will also notice this little icon right here. It's a way that you're able to split your keyboard if you find this to be a little bit easier. So this way your letters are closer to where your hands would be typing. But I also noticed myself looking down a lot when I did have that mode turned on. So I keep mine as standard, but click on your little settings wheel and then go inside of your keyboard layout and feedback. Now inside of here, this is where you want to go through your size and transparency. So with inside of this one here, you are able to go through and make it a little bit larger or smaller. Now the way that this one was originally set up was, I believe it was kind of somewhere, I want to say it was like somewhere around there when I first got the phone. And so for me, I needed to kind of move these to the edges as much as possible so it's close to my thumbs, and then I also made it larger so it was easier to hit those letters and not hit multiple ones. So you want to go through and change the size, but also the way you want it to look. So for me, again, I did not go with that split keyboard. I went with standard, and then I just made it larger. Now the next things you will have to do, which is step number 3, is do the same thing, but when the phone is in its folded state. Now with the Galaxy Fold folded, you want to click in your little text area so it can pop up your keyboard. You'll also notice that I put in my numbers up there. Originally, these ones are meshed in with the top QWERTY line right over here, so you'd have to press and hold to bring up those numbers, but I'm so used to tapping on a number because I use numbers quite a bit. But this is where you want to go inside of your settings, then click on keyboard layout and feedback. Now inside of here, you want to go inside of the size, and again, change this because this is a very, very small screen. We're going almost smaller than the original iPhones back in the day. So you want to bring this all the way up that you're able to. You can bring this up a little bit if you need to, but I don't really see why you would want to. You want to have as much typing space as possible when you use your front-facing keyboard on this phone. The other thing is that you can go inside of the layout, and this is where I did add in the numbers. So you can see how it'll change a little bit. So when you don't have the numbers, you saw how it kind of went a little bit smaller, and then now when you bring in the numbers, it kind of makes it a little bit larger. So I feel that when you add in the number line along with making your keyboard size larger, this is where you're going to get, the most real estate that you will for sure need to have when you're sending off a text message. So for example, if I try to go through and I try to say, hey, what's up? So it does take a little bit of practice trying to get all those little letters, but I feel like I'm just so close, and I mistype all the time. So try to get this as big as possible, so this way you're able to send those text messages. This is one of the main reasons why this keyboard and small screen size is the reason why you will find yourself opening up the Fold more than you wish you had to, which again is one of the cons of this phone. Setting change number 4 is having the ability of having an application that originally starts off in the small screen and then you go to the large screen. So this is one of the main reasons why you get the Galaxy Fold, is to get a larger experience. But when you are done with using it in the larger screen experience, and if you want to continue using the application when it's folded, this is where you want to turn on the setting that is called Continue Apps on Front Screen. So you saw there that it did not continue the application. You saw that it basically closed it out, but this is the setting you want to change. Pull down the notifications panel, click on the settings icon, and go inside of display. Now underneath display, you're going to scroll down to where it says Continue Apps on Front Screen. So again, this is where when you choose to use an application and then you close it, it'll continue on the front of the screen when it is closed. So kind of going down here, I have calendar that's turned on, the camera, Chrome, clock, all of this stuff, Duo, so I can continue doing phone calls or video calls, things like that. But this is where YouTube was turned off. So you want to turn on any and all of the applications that you want, that if you do close the phone, you want it to continue to the front screen. But then you'll notice that there is applications that is not formatted, and that's because these applications are not written to continuously use when they're being resized. And all the rest of these here are able to continue when they're being resized. Here's another one that's not able to. So let me show you how this looks. So now we're inside of YouTube. Now we open up the phone. Now that we have our larger screen experience, maybe we're getting to a situation where we can only hold the phone with one hand. We want it to be smaller. Maybe you're doing text messaging. You want to still continue your conversation. And now when you close it, now you're able to use the front screen. Setting change number 5 is dealing with your multi-window tray. So the first off, I do need to show you that you need to turn this one on. So if you pull down the notifications panel, click on the settings icon, you're going to scroll down to where it says advanced features. And then advanced features, you want to make sure that multi-window tray is toggled on, and that's really the only setting inside of here. Now that you have this one turned on, you can swipe over anywhere on the right-hand side of the screen, and it pulls up this little tab. The top tab is the ones that you set to always be favorited, and the bottom is going to be, anything below this line will be anything that was a recent application. You also have this little icon here that expands the screen, and then it also makes it go small again, so you can either expand it or collapse it. So here is the tray. This is where you can do multi-window with any of these applications. You can also edit your tray, and this is what we're really talking about with this setting change here. Put in the applications that you know you're going to use when you're going to use another application. So I always use, let's say, YouTube, calendar, and messages, because maybe I'm watching a video, but then someone text messages me wondering what I'm doing on October 28th. So it's kind of a quick way that I'm able to run all 3 applications at the same time. But as you add more applications on the top, that just means that these recent applications are going to go away. The maximum amount of applications you can have in your tray will be 6. So if you add in 4 up here, that means it'll only show the last 2 recent applications. So let me just show you what it looks like now. So let's say that we had YouTube opened up. This is where I got my favorite applications up here. Let's open up the calendar because I got a text message asking what was going on a specific date. So as you go through, anytime that you have an active application, you'll have a blue line. So this little blue line here is not activated until I go down, and this is now the activated application, which means if I hit on the back button, it will get rid of it. And now this is the main one here. If I hit the back button again, it can also get rid of that application. Now, another way to get rid of all these different applications as well is that if you press and hold on this little line, I can make it to where these two applications are large, or I can just get rid of those last two. So you're moving that line to show and indicate which app you want to be running at that time. And then I'm just gonna hit on the home button. Setting change number 6 is dealing with the side key settings. So usually most people are used to pressing and holding on that as the power button, which brings you your power menu, or you can use it for Bixby. So let's say that you want to go inside of your side key settings. That is the fastest, most quickest way to get inside of the settings. The other way you can do that is by going inside of your settings on the top right hand side, scrolling down to your advanced features, and then underneath advanced features you can see here side key. So this is where you're able to change what happens when you do a double press and a press and hold. So double press, more than likely you probably want it to open up your camera, because camera is one of those things that you have to get within an instant to take a picture within the instant. And also for the press and hold, most is used to the power off menu versus Wake Bixby. So if you wanted to go through, change your settings, you can also go through and change which app to open when you do a double press. But for me, opening up a camera to get something in a moment is more important to me than opening up a different application that I can open up pretty much any other way from the front screen. So this is what I would suggest as your side key settings, is the quick launch camera and the power off menu. Number 7 is dealing with the quick settings shortcuts on the top when you pull down the notifications panel. So if you pull it down twice, you're gonna see all of your different shortcuts here, but also these 3 little dots. When you click on the 3 little dots, this is where you want to change your button order and put the most important and most used settings on the front page. So if you look back over here, you can see that some of these are ones that I don't use, you probably don't use, or once they're turned on, you never need to worry about them again. So NFC is one of those I don't use. Always on display is pretty much always on. The location, once these settings are set, I don't need to go through. But you want to move some of these in the orders and what makes sense. So let's say that you see any application on the front or a little setting on the front that you don't really need to use. So let's say that we put this one right there. So anything that you have towards the very back, now, once you go over here, you're able to move it forward, and it just makes it very simple and easy. So if I move it over a page, I put it right there. That means that now on the front page, it's everything I want to use, and then everything I don't want to use. And yes, you can try to move things back and forth. You don't need to move them to the bottom, but you'll notice this makes it super simple because it just knocks off the next one that you want to get rid of. Setting change number 8 is one of those that helps the very last one we just talked about, which is going inside of your notifications panel. So you can see here that I'm swiping down in the middle of the screen. It doesn't matter where I hold the phone, how I hold the phone. Now it's a way I don't have to go to the very top to pull down that little bar. So this one you want to press and hold anywhere on the screen that is empty. Click on the home screen settings. You're going to scroll down right here and you want to look for this option here. Swipe down for notifications panel. Now, if this was not turned on, then when I do this, it's just going to open up my application tray. But application tray already pops up when I swipe up. And if I want to try to get to a notification, now I got to reach all the way to the top just to bring it down. So you can see that when you go through that home screen settings, you swipe down for notifications panel, you're going to see that this just helps tremendously no matter which Samsung phone you have. The next setting to change is kind of a 2-in-1. They're actually right next to each other. So just make sure that you have your Dolby Atmos turned on. And when you do go inside of here, you can keep it on auto. That's perfectly fine. But the next one you will also want to turn on will be your night mode. It just makes your phone just look a lot better. This takes a lot of battery. It kind of strains the eyes. So just make sure that you have night mode turned on and also have Dolby Atmos turned on, because right when you get the phone, I believe these two are toggled off. Setting change number 10 is really just dealing with the front screen. And this one's also very important that you probably could have done at the very beginning. So right away, I did change the clock widget that was on the front of here. I removed it from the home and then I added in this clock here because the original one took up a lot of space. Then once I put in this smaller clock, it gives you a lot more space to work around with the front screen. So I was able to keep my little Google search bar widget right there. I did bring it up because originally it was over here. Then I added in this little line of applications. So when you are using the front screen of basically your phone, you are able to have more home screens if you want. So there's basically your Bixby screen over there. Here's your main screen. You also have a secondary screen. You are able to go through and you can delete that one if you don't need it. So you want to go through and what kind of makes sense for you. So if you do a pinch to zoom and you move over here because you wanted to add one more little screen, this is how you're able to change, the front of the phone. And you might forget you're able to do that just the same way as if the phone was open, because this just looks way different. Then you just want to make sure that you have your main applications on the front and everything else. And also when you do have the setting turned on for the pull down for notifications panel, it'll work this way as well too. So this is going to be the setting changes to use once you get yourself the Samsung Galaxy Fold. I hope that you guys have liked this video. If you guys did, please give this thing a huge thumbs up. Don't forget to hit on subscribe. You subscribe right over here at the very bottom left hand side. Share this video with your friends and family and social media sites. And other than that, I'll see you guys later.